I mean, really, basically, the seeker wants an answer or a formula for its life, or his life or her life. And one of the formulas, apparently, that's attractive is the idea of psychotherapy, where the aim of psychotherapy, I would say, is to develop and learn how to become a more balanced person. And that, that can have all sorts of meanings, and also, there are all sorts of processes that can bring that about. But all that the seeker is actually doing is making the prison more comfortable. It's like religion. Christianity is about, in the end, giving you something to hope for and long for and work for, which makes it feel safer to be separate. In therapy, I think people are neurotic. Well, I know that people are neurotic because basically they're separate. They don't recognize that, and the therapist that works with them, works on the symptoms of being separate. Neurosis, whatever those are. But never addresses the actual root problem of being separate, because the root problem of being separate can't be addressed by any process or any understanding or any process, any therapy. So basically, the therapist is putting elastoplast on bits of the person to make them feel better for a while, and then all the elastoplast flies off again.
And isn't like also with therapy, it's almost, there is a preference to what you're trying to fix something, right? Delving into childhood, trying to discover something.
Oh yeah.
Because you feel it should be different, life should be different than what is.
That's all the same thing, yeah. It's all a formula. It's a way of, all teaching and all therapy, all of it, Christianity and, I have to say, self-inquiry and therapy, is all based on the idea that you need to change. So immediately it's seen that there's something wrong with you. You are in a dualistic state, or you are unbalanced, or whatever. So you need to change, and it's an utterly futile process, because the real difficulty or dilemma, the real dilemma for the seeker is separation, and the seeker can't do anything about being separate. The more it tries not to be separate, the bigger it gets, especially with something like self-inquiry. Self-inquiry is a sort of self-centeredness which brings a person through working with their thoughts and so on, brings them to a sort of sense of knowing something. And they then become full of their own knowing. They live in what they call knowing presence. But it's a sort of introspection, it's a sort of glorification of the self. And of course, the other part of self-inquiry is that it brings people detachment. And detachment feels like enlightenment, but it isn't. It's a way of disassociating yourself with life. So
what happens to emotions for you? Emotions to your life?
I don't have emotions. So there's nothing here anymore. Everything is lost. Tony Parsons says died, so everything is lost. There's nothing left, but emotions happen. But at the moment, what's happening is you're nodding your head. Okay, no, that's what's happening. That's what appears to be happening. And then at another time, there will be an emotion that arises. And it could arise in this body, but of course there's nobody in this body. It's just another thing. It's a body that has emotions or doesn't. There's nothing that can be done about them. They don't need to be honoured or pushed away or any of that other stuff that people talk about. They just are what is.
In that context, freedom also has no meaning, because we used to give so much meaning to freedom.
Yeah, freedom.
Freedom.
Yeah.
But in this context, freedom loses the meaning.
Oh, totally. It doesn't. The meaning of the word freedom for me is beyond knowing. It can't be known. But when there's nobody left, it's obvious in everything. Suddenly everything is free to be what it is, because there's no longer something here turning it into an object and imprisoning it. When the me looks at something, it turns it into an object and makes it solid in the perception. When there's nobody here, it is what it is. It's amazing. It's like a shift. You know, and it's not, in a way it's not remarkable, but in another way it is remarkable in that suddenly the perception of everything being out there and separate is gone, and there is only the beloved in everything, in everything.
But there is still perception happening.
Well, perception is only the mechanics of it. There's nothing here perceiving, there is perception. Eyes see something, but in the end what it sees is what's happening, which is what is and isn't. Because what's happening there right now is nothing appearing as that. So that what is seen there is real and unreal. It's both real and unreal.
Do you think we can learn something from neuroscience? Neuroscience is pointing out that there is no such thing as self, and that whatever we perceive, there is no inherent value. It's just the information that the brain puts it together, and then we make a meaning out of it.
I don't, as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing to learn. And there is no teaching. But there's no question at all that science at the moment is coming to the same conclusion as certain mystics, if you say a history of seeking, certain mystics have been pointing to for thousands of years. But there is nothing to learn, but in some way or other, neuroscience and physicists are already pointing to something. There is a pointing to something which can't be known. Even they don't know. They don't want to know that all of it points to infinity. There are two theories. One is a theory of black holes, and the other is the theory of quantum physics. And if you take those theories to their logical conclusion, they reach infinity. And scientists are pissed off by that because they don't know what infinity is. Nobody does. I don't. So yes, science is pointing to what we're talking about.
Do you see, that's intellectual, do you see evolution in the in spirituality,
No.
in the seeking, in the
No.
role of the guru?
No, there is no guru.
No. Is this changing? Do people, is the perception of the guru evolving somewhat?
Well, I think there's a change in the psyche of the ordinary person in the world today, moving away from authority and control, and you can see it in the Middle East in a very violent sort of way. But people recognise that authority no longer has any authority. Religious authority and political authority is breaking down. So there's, in the psyche of people, there's a movement towards anarchy, something which is without leadership, something that isn't even a teaching or a discipline. There's a movement towards this freedom, but it's only a shift. But it certainly, this message doesn't recognise anything like the sense of a guru. There's no such thing as a guru. There's no such thing as liberation. There's no such thing as a seeker. All there is that which is boundless appearing as those things.
So has there any longing left?
No, only for a Lamborghini. That's all. Lots of marmalade and a Lamborghini. I've always wanted to buy a Lamborghini, but it's completely meaningless. It's a joke, really. No, there's no longing, because there's nothing to long. The longing went when the longer died. Yeah?
So what we do is, I mean, we know it's absurd, it's meaningless, and yet there
We
is
go
the
on, you
appearance
can't
of
stop it.
Movement.
No.
We try to
Me.
stop doing the conference.
I know you do, bless you. I love you for that, but the fact is the me will go on and on, running round in that wheel forever. Well, there isn't a forever, but until it suddenly dies of exhaustion or whatever. It'll go on happening. It doesn't matter, it's totally meaningless, because that which is boundless has no interest in somebody becoming liberated, because somebody not being liberated is boundlessness appearing as someone that's not liberated. So it's an absolute, it's a completely fulfilling experience and expression.
Is our search for meaning a way to control life? That's what the function of meaning?
Meaning, knowing is all about fear. It's a basis is fear, which comes out of separation, and the longing to be in control so that it's safer. But there isn't anybody in control. There's nothing to control.
We we are trained to think in terms of one or the other, this or that, can there be a shift of that perception?
Yeah, yes, there can be. But that shift of that perception is what I would call liberation. When it's seen there are no opposites and there are no, there is no inner, no outer, no above and below, then suddenly there's no one left because there's no one any longer in those positions. When the me dies, life is very, very simple and very ordinary. And fucking, I shouldn't say that. Fucking amazing. I do use that a lot, actually, so I swear a lot, actually, because it shows that I'm not enlightened to a lot of people. All right, shall I say that again?
Yes,
then you can.
That's what we want.
I forgot what I said now. What did I say? It's life. After when the me collapses, life is very ordinary and very simple, and it's utterly free.
No.
See, that's why I like this job.
Oh, yeah. It's utterly fulfilling for no one.
You want to say something about the open secret? What is the open secret?
Well, the open secret was only a title from the first little book we wrote, and we couldn't think of a title. And then my feeling is that what we long for remains hidden from us. What the seeker longs for remains hidden from it by being everything, which is astounding. So the seeker can't find what it's looking for because it already is everything. So in a way, it's the openness of that, and it remains a secret for that which tries to grasp it, the open secret.
But it's secret because it's known, because it cannot be known. That's why.
The me can't know. It's unknowing. Liberation is unknowing. There's nothing here that knows anything. There's nothing that stands up there and speaks from any knowing. It just comes out of nothing. There's nothing here now that knows anything. That talks to this, and this just responds out of nothing. There's no thing going in here sort of judging it or working out what's the best thing to say. That's why I say naughty words sometimes.
So when anger arises or...
Everything is very passionately full on because there's no longer anything judging it or wondering about or wanting what to do with it. So it's just a bare, it's an open vessel. It's like an open vessel. So when anger happens, it's wham! But it's like then and it's gone.
So you become Italian, basically.
I mean, I can Italian, yeah. See, I'm dotty about pasta, so there we are. See, it's the Italian in me.
So would you say the concept of enlightenment is almost like doing disservice to it?
Oh, no question. Seeking is the most effective way to avoid enlightenment.
But the concept of enlightenment, is doing dissatisfaction.
There's nothing wrong with seeking, it's just completely futile, that's all. There's nothing wrong with it because it's wholeness appearing to be a seeker. So it's already whole. Yeah.
I was wondering, why do you give the retreats?
I don't give retreats. They're what happens. There's no reason for anything that I do because there is no one doing anything. There's only what happens. So this, just responds to what is happening without any reason or purpose.
Okay.
So
You come by question.
Sorry?
You come by question when people ask you to...
Yeah, that's what happens. I'm there. But for this, it's just the same as sitting in the garden at home because they're both the same thing. This isn't special. And I mean, I do love talking to people. You can tell I love and I'm dotty about this. So in that sense, it's very lovely and beautiful in that way. But there's obviously no reason for it, because if there was a reason for it, we would all be trying to get somewhere. So what happens in the residentials, they're not retreats really, because there's nothing to retreat from. But in the residentials, there's quite a lot of talking at the beginning. What about me? What about me? And then it just goes, and then in the end there's nothing. Checkmate.
Okay.
Do you ever use the one thing I sometimes when I try when I am unaware of the futility of the attempt, I sometimes use the word disorganism. Separate when somebody I say no, there is just I use this expression. There is just this organism.
Oh yeah, totally. There's just this organism. There's nothing in it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and the way I use it, this organism and things happen to this organism, but my brain, is not what you call me.
No, there's no me. But the organism has characteristics. It's got a certain sort of voice, and it likes marmalade or anything like that. Preferences happen, but that's life happening. It isn't something that the me. You don't need a me to have preferences.